Good evening, welcome to ITV News. This is Wednesday night's calendar.
Yes, hello, good evening. Here are tonight's main stories.
Let down by the justice system, there's anger that Marcia Grant's killer, a child she was fostering, is sentenced to just 2 years for mowing her down in her own car.
Marcia's family are demanding answers as to why a murder charge against the youngster was replaced with a driving offence. I'll have more details shortly.
We tested positive for cocaine on there, so we're going to go down to custody. And we suspect they both could have been driving, so we're both going to go to custody and get this sorted.
Also tonight we head out on patrol with the Yorkshire traffic cops who say they're ready to spoil Christmas for drivers under the influence of drink and drugs.
People don't realise that they get in the car, they think I've had 1 or 2 pints, it'll be fine, only they're going up the road. But up that road there could be a 4-year-old child that runs out in front of the car, and that delayed reaction because you're impaired will cost their life.
On the coldest night of the autumn so far, here in Leeds, spare a thought for single working mum Jenny and 9-year-old Nyla. They've had no gas central heating now for 5 months. Join me shortly to find out why.
And in sport, it was a bad case of butterfingers for Wycombe's goalie, which in the 91st minute handed Barnsley an early Christmas present.
So first tonight, the family of a foster carer who died when a child staying at her Sheffield home ran her over with her own car say they've been let down by the justice system. Marcia Grant died after suffering catastrophic injuries in April this year. Well, tonight a 13-year-old boy is starting a 2-year sentence at a secure children's home for killing the 6-year-old grandmother. He'll be released on licence after 1 year and then banned from driving for another 6.
Marcia Grant's husband and children described her as a pillar of the community who had welcomed the boy into her home with hugs, assurances and her trademark warmth. And they said they feel completely let down by the justice system after the boy was originally charged with murder, only for that to be replaced by a driving offence. Well, Adam Fowler followed today's proceedings and is in Greenhill where Marcia was killed. Adam, this really was a tragic case.
Yes, the family have described the last 8 months as torture. Marcia's husband, Delroy, felt unable to make it into court, but the court heard how he pleaded with the 12-year-old boy to stop trying to steal her car before he reversed over her and dragged her across the road. He said, "It's a trauma that will stay with me for the rest of my life." The family say their anguish has been compounded by the reduction in criminal charges brought against the defendant. This is because he was originally charged with murder before pleading guilty to the lesser charge of causing death by dangerous driving. They said, "We strongly believe that the evidence, as heard, shows a complete disregard for human life and clear premeditation to do serious harm." Flowers at the scene where Marcia Grant was killed by a 12-year-old who pleaded guilty to death by dangerous driving earlier this year, having already accepted a charge of possession of a bladed article, namely a kitchen knife. It was April the 5th that the boy drove over her with her own car as she tried to prevent what she thought was a theft. CCTV showed him reversing over her, causing catastrophic injuries, and despite her husband pleading with him to stop. Sentencing, the judge, Mrs. Justice May, said, "Since then you have said many times you were sorry for what happened to her, and I believe that you are." Marcia Grant's family are heartbroken and angry. Of course they are, that's natural. Her son and daughter have lost their mum. Delroy Grant has lost his wife. She was everything to them. No sentence which I can give you can bring her back or lessen their sadness. On the steps of court this afternoon, a statement from South Yorkshire Police.
Although the criminal justice process has concluded today, I am aware that this brings no resolution or closure for Marcia's friends and family. They will continue to grieve their tremendous loss and will do so for the rest of their lives. Losing someone so dearly loved at the hands of another is unbearable, and our condolences remain with them at this incredibly difficult time.
The boy will serve 2 years at a secure children's home, but will be released on licence next year.
Now, Adam, we heard there the anger of Marcia's family over the decision to drop that murder charge. How has the Crown Prosecution Service responded?
Well, the CPS has responded to the family's criticism by saying the boy was initially charged with murder under their threshold test because an immediate decision was required. However, they say following further investigation by South Yorkshire Police, including a reconstruction of the scene, expert reports and witness statements, we reviewed our initial decision and concluded there was no longer a realistic prospect of conviction for that offence. Now, the family also say that they believe decisions made by Rotherham Metropolitan Borough Council played a significant role in the circumstances that led to our mum's death. The council say they've launched an independent inquiry and that the family will have the opportunity to contribute to it. Marcia Grant's son, Sean, spoke in court earlier today, saying he'd had his best friend ripped away from him with no chance to tell her how amazing she was as a mum, wife and foster carer. The family say they will continue to search for answers as they grieve for Marcia.
OK, Adam, moving words from the family of Marcia Grant there, thank you.
Yes, terribly tragic story. Next tonight, we've all heard the phrase, one for the road, but police in North Yorkshire are reminding drivers that even just that one is one drink too many.
They've launched their Christmas drink and drug driving campaign, which this year includes a focus on younger drivers who could get behind the wheel under the influence of the newly outlawed laughing gas.
Michael Billington has been out on patrol with traffic officers who are setting their sights on drivers who might have taken the Christmas celebrations a step too far.
The start of the night shift for Jack Dodsworth, and with over 6,000 miles of roads to patrol, he's one of a number of specially trained traffic officers expecting a busy few weeks in North Yorkshire.
Romeo 5-3 up.
And they know precisely what to look out for.
These little things like a bit of excess speed, or they take a late right-hand turn or a left-hand turn. They've got that unconscious bias when they see the police and they have that little panic. Still be vehicle check, please.
This driver's just taken a wrong turn in York City centre, but his sudden swerve is enough to raise suspicions.
Because your manner of driving, mate, it gives me the power to require a breath sample. I've got suspicion you could be under influence of alcohol. Keep blowing, keep blowing, keep blowing, keep blowing. Stop, thank you. Yeah. 0, that's spot on.
North Yorkshire Police did over 1,000 of these roadside tests in the space of a month this time last year. 121 drivers were found to be under the influence of drink or drugs. Of course, officers would rather not catch anybody at all. Instead, they're hoping that by letting you and me see that they are proactively trying to track down drink and drug drivers, that perhaps nobody will do it at all.
Oscar Romeo 25, we've got the vehicle.
Back on the road, and Jack's colleagues have just stopped 2 other men on suspicion of drink driving.
So he's travelling to a site of a disqualified driver in the York area. He's been seen coming out of a pub. He's going to go down and see where we can assist and do some preliminary drug procedures and drink procedures.
I think we're just conducting searches at the moment with the smell of cannabis.
Officers have followed a van into a cul-de-sac but can't establish yet which of the men in it was behind the wheel, so they're both tested.
He's failed. He's provided a reading of 73.
Twice the limit?
Twice the limit, yes. Legal limit's 35. He's provided a reading twice the limit. So he's been arrested for a number of driving offences, and by his own admission, he was spangled. Or his words.
For the other man, a type of roadside lateral flow test is used to detect illegal substances in a sample of saliva.
He's tested positive for cocaine on there, so we're going to go down to custody. We suspect they both could have been driving, or we believe both could have been driving, so they're both going to go to custody and get this sorted. Right, bud, how are you doing?
Back at the station, another breath test for this suspected drink driver as officers begin their investigation.
Big deep breath. And blow. Keep blowing, keep blowing, keep blowing. We can do breath tests for moving traffic offences, collisions or suspicion of alcohol. So if you do get stopped by the police, expect to get breath tested. Stop, thank you, that'll do. Good lad. Take a seat so you don't collapse. People don't realise that they get in the car, they think I've had 1 or 2 pints, it'll be fine. I'm only going up the road. And that's a classic example. I'm only going up the road. But up that road, there could be a 4-year-old child that runs out in front of the car. And that delayed reaction because you're impaired will cost their life.
The Department for Transport says deaths and injuries from drink driving have gone up since the pandemic. North Yorkshire Police hopes that more drivers will realise that getting behind the wheel on drink or drugs is a gamble not only with their licences, but with their lives as well. Michael Billington, ITV News in York.
Well, let's cross to Northallerton now and to North Yorkshire's Assistant Chief Constable Elliot Foskett, who's at Force Headquarters. Mr Foskett, good evening. I mean, is it fair to say that really people think, that part of the problem is that people believe they can get away with it? Because in a county like North Yorkshire, which is very rural, you can go many, many miles without seeing a police car.
You can. We've got 6,000 miles of roads in North Yorkshire, so that's fair to say that that could be the case. But in December in particular, I mean, we focus on drink drive all year round, but in December in particular, we're going to have a real focus. You're going to see far more officers out and about, proactive patrols, road checks. So you might just be rounding that bend and find yourself face to face with police officers who are going to stop and potentially breathalyse you.
How do you change people's mindsets, though? Because many people do think, I will just have that one drink, I will have one for the road. So how do you stop that?
You know what, I think one of the questions police officers get asked quite a lot is how much can I actually drink and get behind the wheel of a car? Is it 1 pint? Is it two? Is it, you know what, everybody is really different. And I guess my plea to everybody out there is if you're going to drive a car, don't have any alcohol. Just don't drink. That's the safest way of absolutely making sure that you are not over the limit and you are not gambling with other people's lives as well as your own.
And of course, it's your officers who are left picking up the pieces when something goes wrong.
My officers and fire and rescue service, paramedics, ambulance, it's a huge, huge thing when something goes really wrong. And, all of us, I think, in the police at some point have had to do that door knock and say to someone, I'm really sorry, there's been a horrific collision and your loved one is not coming home. You cannot imagine how difficult that is to actually do, and you cannot imagine the shock on people's faces when they're saying, well, it can't be right, they've only just left half an hour ago, what's going on? That can't be right. It's a horrific thing. And those people that find themselves arrested, my message is I don't mind ruining their Christmas to keep other people's Christmas safe. It's as simple as that.
It's a very strong message. Assistant Chief Constable, thanks very much indeed for joining us on Calendar. Thank you.
Now, I'm sure you don't need us to tell you it's chilly tonight, and we will be hearing from Kerry shortly about what the forecast holds for the next few days. But what's set to be the coldest night of the autumn so far, one mum is dreading just what's to come.
That's because for 5 months, Jenny Jepson and her 9-year-old daughter have had to live in their house without their gas central heating. Cracks in Jenny's council house walls, damaged gas pipes, and they're having to rely on costly electric heaters to keep warm. Well, John Hill is with them at their home in the Lovell Park area of Leeds, John, and it's cold, isn't it?
It is, and that's why we're swaddled up here. I found myself inside, but frankly, that's little consolation because here's Jenny, single working mum, here's Nyla, friend Moona here as well. But look at these pictures. This explains what's gone wrong with this council property. Basically, cracks were discovered back in the summer, June. That made the gas unsafe, so there's been no gas central heating since then. And that's been an utter nightmare, but it's obviously got much worse now because it is so cold. Come back to me and you'll see what the family are relying on, these electric oil-filled radiators. But I'll be frank, they're not touching the sides. It is bitter inside the house. Jenny's waiting to be moved to another house, but that hasn't happened yet. Let's talk to Jenny. Jenny, just what is it like?
Horrible, absolutely horrible. It's horrible for me, it's horrible for my daughter, which is cold in the house.
And I know you don't really use this room, you've opened it up for us, obviously it's empty because you're hoping to move out. What do you do? Where do you stay?
Yes, so everything is packed up because we were due to move this week, which has been delayed. So yeah, we're living upstairs basically where it's warmer. Basically just living upstairs.
You have hot water bottles?
Yeah, hot water bottles upstairs and the heaters.
But look at Nyla in her almost Eskimo coat. What do you think when you see her having to live like this?
As a parent, it's heartbreaking when your daughter's telling you that you're cold and you're calling and emailing various people and nobody's listening.
Moona, you've been here for Jenny to try and help her, but what do you make of it?
It's absolutely rubbish again. It's freezing. It was -3 this morning, and I am anxious. I'm worried about her mental well-being and her. If she gets poorly, then what happens? Who looks after Nyla? It's rubbish.
And it's particularly worrying for Nyla, isn't it?
Absolutely. -3 this morning. How is she supposed to do her homework in this temperature? It's not on. It's not on. Please, someone help her, for goodness sake.
Well, we've spoken to Leeds City Council today and they say they understand the uncertainty and the anxiety, the inconvenience that all this has caused for Jenny and for Nyla. They say a home not far from here should be ready, carpeted and decorated for next week, although Jenny was due to move out yesterday and that didn't happen. Will it happen next week? We don't know. Until then, though, they face some very, very chilly nights.
Yeah, they do. John, thank you very much indeed for bringing us up to date with that. And of course, we send our very best wishes to Jenny and Nyla, and we do hope that they wrap up and keep warm tonight. And of course, Kerry will be here later to tell us what we've got coming weather-wise.
I've entitled this photo by John Victor Bejeweled Beginnings, otherwise known as a frosty start. Staying cold for the next few days and nights. All the latest a little later on.
Also tonight, no smoke without fire. If you're thinking of sparking up the log burner for the first time in these cold temperatures, make sure you're not liable for a big fine. We'll have more on that shortly. Well, next tonight, the ongoing turmoil faced by steel workers in Scunthorpe, where 2,000 jobs remain at risk under plans to close the blast furnaces.
More than 160 businesses and community groups have now signed an open letter calling on the government to save the town's steel industry. And many of them will come together at a meeting in the town tonight, demanding answers. Well, our reporter Amelia Beckett is at the steelworks for us now. And Amelia, just tell us what the meeting's all about.
Well, the meeting will take place in the next hour or so, and it will essentially gather people from right across Scunthorpe who all believe that if these jobs were to go here, then it could change both this town and potentially its skyline for good. Now, the reason these jobs are at risk is because British Steel says that it's essential for them to decarbonise and make this a much greener industry. They've proposed the closure of the 2 blast furnaces here. In their place, they want to build 2 electric arc furnaces, one here and one on Teesside. Now, the unions say that if that were to happen, then those 2,000 jobs will potentially be put at risk. They say also, though, that there are other options which could safeguard those jobs but still make the industry greener. It's why they're meeting together at Ashby Bowl this evening alongside businesses and community leaders to talk about those options with people who really want to protect these jobs. If they were to go, they say the impact could be as great as the pit closures. And I've been speaking to people today across the town who say the effect of that would spread right across this community.
Scunthorpe Steel's been embedded in Scunthorpe. It's embedded in our community. It affects so many people. And I spoke to a resident last week, and her daughter works here and her job's at risk. They've just got a new house, they've just got a mortgage. They don't know which way to turn.
So Amelia, what's the government had to say about this?
Well, they say they continue to work closely with the industry to try and secure a sustainable future. They also say that they've invested £300 million in British Steel to help it decarbonise and also secure those jobs. But tonight, Unite the Union told us that the current plans for the industry by the government are an abysmal failure and that they will not rest, in their words, until politicians make the right choices.
Amelia Beckett, live in Scunthorpe. Thank you. On to sport now, and last night 6 of our region's teams were in action with only 3 winners. The most controversial goal of the night was Barnsley's winner against Wickham in League One. Visitors keeper Max Stryek was trying to waste time when he went down after minimal contact from Sam Cosgrove and spilled the ball. Cosgrove tapped into an empty net to score the only goal of the game in stoppage time.
In League 2, Bradford City made it back-to-back wins under Graham Alexander for the first time. Jamie Walker scored the 3rd and final Bantams goal in a comfortable night in Gloucestershire. Doncaster Rovers returned to winning ways against Colchester. On loan striker Mo Farl headed Rovers in front before Joe Ironside sealed the win from the penalty spot.
Well, we've been talking about trying to keep warm, haven't we? If you've got a log burner, then the likelihood is you've probably been using it over the last few days. Now the temperature has dropped. But there are calls for tougher restrictions because of concerns about their impact on pollution levels.
Yes, the government says it's working on plans to tighten the rules on how much smoke the burners can emit, with the threat of fines for households that break them, as Kevin Ashford reports.
Wood-burning stoves are becoming increasingly popular and increasingly scrutinised for their environmental impact. Earlier this year, the government said it wanted to cut the amount of smoke the stoves are allowed to produce. Andy Kaczmarczyk is a chimney sweep from Barnsley. He says wood-burning stove chimneys should be swept twice a year and the right wood should be used.
It's all down to burning the right type of fuel with the right moisture content at the right temperature level, and you'll get the most efficiency out of your stove and you'll put less pollution into the atmosphere.
Currently, wood-burning stoves are allowed to emit 5 grams of smoke an hour if they're installed in homes in what are known as smoke control zones, which cover many urban areas. Local councils have the power to fine households up to £300 if that rule is broken. The government has said it wants to cut that amount to 3 grams an hour and is currently working on ways to do that. One environmental charity says a wood-burning stove can have a significant impact on air quality in urban areas.
It comes down to the type of pollution that it emits, and it's this really small particle pollution that the World Health Organization has said is the most harmful pollution for human health. And the reason why it's so damaging is because it's so small that when you breathe it in, it gets into your bloodstream and into your lungs and can travel to every organ of your body and can lead to things like heart disease, lung cancer, stroke, dementia.
However, those who work in the industry say modern wood burners already go beyond the emission targets. Simon Atfield, who runs a stove retailing and fitting business, is a member of the Stove Industry Association.
We support the tightening of the regulations and the cleaner burning wood-burning stoves, and we're trying to encourage customers to move away from open fires to wood-burning stoves. So they're 5 times more efficient, much cleaner burning, and you can control the smoke and you can burn the particles, which you can't do with an open fire.
Although it intends to tighten emission rules, the government says it has no plans for an outright ban on wood-burning stoves. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
Well, just about right. We have Kerry on now. Kerry, I've got here cold, bloomin' cold.
Cold, bloomin' cold, yeah. Just write myself a note there in case I forgot. Yeah, by day and by night. So there's no real respite from the bitterly cold temperatures, well below what we'd expect for the time of year, actually, especially by day, all the way through until at least Sunday, maybe into the early part of next week. And boy, was it cold last night. I mean, we had our first sort of snowfall of the season, certainly for the North York Moors. This was taken by one of our camera operators in North Yorkshire, Paul Kingston, and he actually took some footage, which hopefully you can see. They closed the A169, which is around RAF Fylingdales and Goathland first thing this morning. No surprises, because there was a good few centimetres of snowfall. But you can see this beautiful sunrise, but look how shiny the road is, really icy. And this is our main risk going over the next couple of days or so. It's after nightfall from around 5 p.m. until 11 o'clock the next morning, where we could see basically icy stretches more. So it's more worrying than the snowfall, because it just becomes slippery. So the gritters are out, you know, they're doing their thing. Hopefully most of you are going to take note of that. Of course, there's one tragedy there, look at that, yeah.
Oh.
Spreaders,
Yeah.
gritters, out for sure. Yeah, but we've had some fantastic photos. Look at this, Dolby Forest, Thornton Dale. A big thank you to Kerry Bilton for this one. Like a winter wonderland, and it's that blue sky, but these were the North Sea snow showers out towards the coast, and actually with a northeasterly coming in over the next few hours or so, it's going to change the direction of those showers. We could see a few more inland, but yes, frosty mornings for sure, but plenty of blue sky in the mix. And of course, I'll have your forecast very, very shortly indeed.
Lovely photos, Kerry.
Love them, keep them coming, yeah.
See you shortly. Now, I hope you are wrapped up nice and warm. Sit back, relax and enjoy not just the sights but the sounds of some of our region's most beautiful landscapes. Our national parks like the Peak District and North York Moors are rightly celebrated for their stunning scenery, and now their natural soundtrack is being appreciated too.
Yes, as part of a special project, researchers are collecting these sounds to make a national map and show how our local soundscapes, as we call them, are changing. Catherine Walker spent the day in the Yorkshire Dales to find out more.
From beautiful birdsong to trickling streams, our national parks are full of nature's music. And with your help, researchers now want to catalogue this soundscape and put it in an interactive map. Volunteers across the country are being asked to go to their local national park and record 30 seconds of noise. The sound you pick should mean something to you and reflect the beautiful landscape you're in.
And the pheasant. Pheasant, yes, he says I'm here.
Heather and Roger Watts are volunteers for the National Park Sound Map. They enjoy capturing the changing noises of the different seasons.
There's a great pleasure with the wonderful sounds of nature. I mean, whether it's stags or whether it's curlew, or simply on a day like this, the sound of falling leaves, the sound of the river. It gives you great pleasure, and in our amateurish little way, we've put those sounds over videos or over photographs, which is very satisfying.
And if you want to get involved and collect sounds in the Yorkshire Dales or the Peak District, it's easy to take part.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Shall we go record some sounds?
Yes.
Pete is a composer and runs the Sound Map project. We asked him to show us how it all works.
The project's all about listening and trying to get people to be more aware of the sounds that are around them all the time. I mean, we're in a beautiful place like this and we can see how beautiful it all is, but actually it's also really important how beautiful and interesting it sounds.
So do people need any special equipment then to collect these sounds?
No, not at all. All they need is what they have in their pockets, mobile phone, and a place like this. Just take a video recording of the sound that you hear, and then once that has been captured on the phone, to then upload that to the sound map.
What have been some of the best sounds that people have collected so far?
There's been some really interesting ones. We've had bird song, we've had things like streams and waterfalls and so on, but there's been some negative sounds as well, like the sound of aircrafts coming over or traffic sounds and things like that. So it's a really interesting document about the sounds that we've got in the national parks that we can listen to in the future.
Part art project, part research. Pete hopes the recordings will serve as an archive for generations to come. So next time you pay a visit to one of our country's beautiful national parks, why not stop and listen? And take a moment to record your favourite sound. Catherine Walker, ITV News.
Can you hear it? Can you hear
Yeah, it is. It's the sound of a
Director.
lesser spotted gosney warming up for the weather forecast.
Yeah, director telling us to move on.
She is.
Good visibility on the horizon. TIRI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Thank you. Hello again. Yes, staying bitterly cold for the rest of the week and into the weekend. Today's weather story, pretty much the default setting for the next few days. A bitterly cold widespread frost, many of us dry and clear with a lovely dose of sunshine. Indeed, those showers continuing to be a threat off the North Sea. We did have a dusting of snow first thing this morning, even directly at the coast, but the morning moon looking beautiful against those blue skies over the last few days. A big thank you to Donna Johnson for the share weather photos at itv.com. So here are largely clear skies inland during the course of daylight hours today, but you can see those showers feeding down the North Sea, one or two clipping the coastline, especially around the Scarborough area and the North York Moors, and they will continue to be a threat as we head deeper into tonight. Coming a little bit further inland actually, but it's over the top, so we might get a light dusting of a couple of centimetres, travelling over towards the Dales and the North Yorkshire Pennines as we head through into the second half of the night. But most of the blue you can see on our chart is just that widespread frost and the risk of icy stretches as we head towards dawn. 7:59 and 3:50 are your sun times. So it's definitely bitterly cold as we head through into tomorrow. Those showers will continue to be a threat. There's not loads of them, but they are coming in off the North Sea, and there will be a little bit wintry, especially over higher ground. But for the bulk of the region, it's largely dry, largely clear, but cold, not much higher than around 3 or 4 Celsius, and in rural spots staying freezing pretty much all day. Another widespread frost with the risk once more of snow showers and icy stretches into Friday. Friday, a very similar story though. We've got the message, the memo by now, largely clear and cold, and staying that way as we head into at least the first half of the weekend.
TIRI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
There you go, enjoy the cold sunshine, but take it easy for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Warm, wrap up.
Wrap up, yes, layers.
Warm where you can.
Hope you've got your de-icer for later.
I'm going to need it, aren't I? Yeah, I'll be back at 10:30 tonight, so it will be cold by then. See you later.
Good evening, good night, see you tomorrow.
Bye.